Hello, my friends, and welcome to She's on the Money. I am Victoria Devine, and around here, we are all about making money a little less overwhelming. We have a community of more than 300,000 people. We have podcasts and blogs. We also have freebies like budgeting tools and investing cheat sheets to help you feel more in control of your financial future.
She's on the
Money.
She's on the money.
My name's Natasha Bamblett. I'm a proud First Nations woman and I'm here to acknowledge country. Hello, beautiful friends. We gather on the lands of the Aboriginal people. We thank, acknowledge and respect the Aboriginal people's land that we're gathering on today. Take pleasure in all the land and respect all that you see. She's on the Money podcast acknowledges culture, country, community and connections, bringing you the tools, knowledge and resources for you to thrive.
Hello and welcome to She's on the Money, the podcast that is here to have big money conversations. I'm Victoria Devine, and today's episode might feel a little bit different. And that's exactly the point. January 26 is not a date to celebrate. For many of us, especially our First Nations community and friends, it's a day of mourning, a reminder of loss, resilience, and the work that is yet to still be done. So instead of our regular Money Diaries episode, we wanted to use this moment for something bigger on this date. A moment to listen, to learn, and to talk about how we can all show up in a way that's respectful, informed, and impactful. And to help us do that, we're joined by my friends Laura Thompson and Sarah Sheridan from Clothing the Gap, an incredible Indigenous-led social enterprise that's turned a clothing label into an absolute movement. Through their work, they've built community, created jobs, and helped thousands of Australians understand exactly what it means to vote with your dollar. Not just today, but every single day. In this episode, together, we're going to unpack how Clothing the Gap began, the gaps they're closing, and what it takes to build a profit for cause brand from the very ground up, and practical ways that we can show support, including the ways that don't cost a thing. A very warm welcome to my friends Lauren and Sarah.
Thank you. It's really lovely to be here. And I feel like we can just wrap up now because I feel like you summed all of that up.
Cool. Yep. Indigenous-led social enterprise. You're doing a really good job. You've created jobs like raising awareness.
Yeah.
Yep. Tick.
And
done. No, I want to yap. I'm so excited to have a chat with you guys. And especially on today, I feel like so many people in our community are in that limbo of like, do we talk about it? Do we not talk about it? Do we mention it? And like, what a better way than to get the two of you here to go, this is what we need to be sharing. These are the conversations we are having. And I just feel so grateful that you're allowing me to use you guys to educate our community. Because like, it's not my place to be like, this is important. I want to hear it from the mouths of the horses, basically. So let's get to know the two of you a little bit better. I want to go all the way back to the very beginning. How'd you meet? What sparked Clothing the Gap?
Yeah, it's a great question, Victoria. So Laura and I met 11 years ago when I approached Laws to join the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service's Healthy Lifestyle team as a uni placement student.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Laws was actually my boss, fun fact.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
She's still my boss. It's okay.
Same. But the respect levels, I feel like are a little bit different. The
100%.
dynamics are different.
11 years of getting to make impact together. It's been pretty fabulous. But
so cool.
Yeah. So I was, yet another non-Indigenous student who wanted to do their placement at the health service. And I'd been spending some time working alongside some other different Aboriginal organisations back in Melbourne, and everybody kept telling me that I needed to meet Laura. And it's really funny, Victoria.
And you're like, cool, who's Laura?
Yeah, I was like, sounds good. We'll do that. And it's really funny. I've still got my diary from
oh my God,
like my last year of uni, and it's hilarious. And there's this like 1 week where it's like a coffee with Laura at Vaz, 10 a.m. And then it's like crossed out. And it's like moved to Tuesday. It's like coffee with Laura, 3 p.m. Like she just kept bumping me throughout the week.
You just let her know where she stands.
Yeah, you really didn't want to borrow me at the start, hey?
Yeah, that's true. And
you know what? No word of a lie.
I was just really busy doing the work on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And a coffee, you're like, a coffee with no shade, but coffee with a student, I just don't have capacity right now. I get that.
Yeah, and I already had like non-Indigenous students in the team, and they do take a lot of time and effort
100%.
Yep.
to familiarise themselves with, Aboriginal community control and the work that we're doing. So I'm a Gunditjmara woman and grew up in Collingwood, Fitzroy, but my family were really influential in actually establishing the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service.
How cool.
Yeah, so eventually Sarah and I did catch up and
And you liked each other.
yeah, we
That's
matched each other's
good.
energy
Yeah.
and Sez did her placement and I offered her a role and
We worked together at the health service for about 3.5 years and we got to create some really incredible impact together. But the really hard part about it, I guess, was that it was all really dictated by government funding cycles.
Yeah, and that's really rough. I see that coming up time and time again when I speak to people. They're like, we really want to have this impact and we know how great it would be, but we can't access funding. And I guess that's a lot of what we talk about at She's on the Money. Like, how do we get money to actually have the impact that people deserve to have?
Yeah.
we're both health promotion practitioners. We both have backgrounds in public health, but we used to call ourselves health promotion entertainers because we really did
Yeah.
bring all the sparkle to engage communities.
Yeah, and you
to-
have to, it's like not just about the like paid parts, like you've got to be engaged. And if you're not, like people aren't going to engage with you and then you're not going to get your funding.
Absolutely. And I think we've done a really good job at motivating community to make healthy lifestyle choices. And we wanted to do that on a bigger scale and we felt limited by the government. So we said, let's start our own business.
So we
Just no
started
biggie, no biggie.
No, so we started a health promotion consultancy, which we always say is a really hilarious business to start when the biggest competition in the market actually does it for free. Good old Vic Health, but that's fine.
Whatever, just pretend they don't exist.
Which is what we did. No, we actually had some really lovely partnerships. And we had 2 contracts before we left our job, our full-time jobs at the health service that enabled us to sort of step out with a bit of confidence that we had some work to start off with. So the first business that we started together was actually called Spark Health, which means that when Clothing the Gaps very first started, we always had merch as part of the incentivization piece of participating in the program. So if you came to 4 out of 6 of our health and wellbeing sessions, you got your free singlet. And the singlet was, exactly right. Like people love, and trust me, community love free merch.
Especially as somebody who runs a community love free merch.
100%. And so I guess even long before I joined the team, this is a thing that's been around for a really long time. Hey, Laws.
Yeah, and the only way that you could get it was through participating. It was basically a bribe, but you had to show up.
No, but I also
it.
like that you have to show up to get it. And then it's like that, when people go overseas and they come back with a tote bag with where they've been because they want everybody to know, you're wearing your singlet because you want people to know you're involved. And I think that's actually really beautiful as well because they're not just promoting you, but they're proud of being associated.
And you could only, it was that shared experience. You couldn't buy the T-shirt, you could only earn it. And it really created a sense of community of people, I guess, that were living those healthy lifestyle values. But we were only working with, I guess, the local Aboriginal community, mostly in Melbourne, but sometimes in the broader Victorian community. At that point, even in our new business, our focus really was on the health of the Victorian Aboriginal community.
Which is stunning. And then from that, Clothing the Gap eventuated. So how did you pivot from being okay, we're in health promotion to having free merch that we give out to now we sell the merch and actually it's not merch, it's the whole business. How does that, because that's a shift.
It was never, ever the plan.
What do you mean? You didn't wake up and go, babes, I want to be in fashion.
No.
Oh, I know.
And we always laugh about it. We personally, we love fashion and clothes, but we never saw ourselves.
No. It's
fashion
like me. It's like me. I just couldn't imagine that pivot. Especially when you're so impact driven, you're just no, fashion and stuff is so fun, but that's not where the impact is, but you've drawn them together.
But it was at the same time when, I was the one sort of creating that free incentivized merchandise. There wasn't a whole lot in the market where people could actually wear their culture and designs.
Yeah.
So it was a real signifier to mob to be proud of who they are when they wore that singlet.
Yep.
So I was always wanting to look for ways even personally, that I could get up every morning and dress myself and let people know
Who
hey,
you are
yeah,
and
I'm
what
mob
you're
and this is
about.
what I care about.
Yeah.
And I'd been like my whole life looking for those opportunities to do that. So the real shift happened in 2020 when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And all of those programs that were delivering in community, we could
person
no
you
longer
couldn't do.
deliver.
So we'd gone essentially from like I felt like I lived out of my car and was like delivering
Yeah,
health and
yeah.
wellbeing programs like right across. Like I was in Geelong like 2 nights a week, in Melton, like we
Oh,
were
wow.
everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then all of a sudden like we pivoted really fast at that first outset of COVID. Like I think like, you know, we were at Officeworks buying webcams when there were still webcams at Officeworks.
Oh.
Like we were quick.
You guys were on it.
Yeah.
We
And it
had
was-
to be.
Yeah, no, we really, really had to be. And I guess like one of the other parts is that when we started Spark Health, we had the merch, right? And
Yeah.
the merch just kind of like, it was doing its thing a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was sort of this tricky bit of like, do we do more? Is it a distraction? You know, when you get to that sort of that crossroads, you're like, we either
It's popular.
do more
but is it
of this
profitable or is it-
or we stop. kind of
Totally.
thing.
And do we have enough energy to spread ourselves so thin across now? Merchandising
Because you
and
guys would have been
retail.
busy, especially because you don't have a lot of funding. You're trying to make it stretch. You're like trying to work out where to be. And I'm assuming you were pretty like, I won't say burnt out yet, but like, girl, if you're saying I was in Geelong 2 nights a
Yeah,
week and
we
then I'm
were.
in Melton, like I don't think you were not stressed.
No,
and
it was a
at-
lot.
Yeah, we're at the cold face of health promotion delivery
Yeah.
in community most nights when it was convenient. For
Yeah, and
other
that's
people.
exhausting as well. Like emotionally, like that's just a lot to take. I always
Yeah.
talk about it in that I don't know if I could work in those areas because I would take so much of it home and like it would overwhelm me. But like you've got that and you're traveling like, and then you're
And we're
also like,
working
should
in-
we do?
prisons and
Yeah.
I was dressing up as like a superhero and like just all the things like we loved it, right?
I'm not surprised. Like when you walked in, you have that energy that you're just somebody I want to know better. I'm like learning now. I'm like, yeah, I
Sis
can
and
see it. I can
like,
see
we
it.
started a game show.
Yeah, it was really fun. So I'm essentially just a taller, funnier Grant Danielle, and Laws was
Oh,
my
yeah,
assistant
I see
Sparkles. And it was called Spark Feud. So you know Family Feud,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah,
so
yeah.
we surveyed 100
Sorry,
of the
Grant, we've
mob.
taken your job.
Absolutely.
Move over.
Move over. And we would get booked to deliver this game show. We had like a road show going.
With costumes and all.
100%. I had a
I'm
sparkly
really
jacket.
sad that I didn't like know
It was
about you
really-
guys then.
It was brilliant. Like,
Can we bring
was
it
a
back?
lot.
Is that an option?
We might do it. You know, we'll bring it out especially
Yeah.
for you.
I mean, it was awesome, but we were like,
Chaos.
one of the biggest worries for us at that time was literally burnout. It's not to say that we don't work extremely hard now, we always are, but it was that forward facing
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, that's literally where my brain went. I'm
Yeah.
like, these girls are putting in so much energy. How are they getting it back?
But the thing was we built communities of people that were changing behaviours.
Yeah, incredible.
So then when it come to COVID, if we remember that time, a few things happened to us. One of them was we received a cease and desist from Gap Clothing.
Yep. So we got a notice of intent to oppose our trademark application from
Straight
the
in the
Gap.
bin.
Yeah, which was hectic.
Not for you, for them. Like, don't put that in the bin. You probably should do something about that and we should think about it. But also,
No, we didn't put it in the bin, Victoria. We put it in the top drawer because we had 6 months to deal with it. So that was literally a later
Oh,
problem.
nice. Yeah, whatever.
It was
I'll
like
forget about it. Yeah,
That
yeah,
can
yeah.
go right there for a moment.
And then some of the merch that we had created for Spark merch also had the Aboriginal flag on it.
Yeah.
So then we got another cease and
Oh,
desist
yeah.
from Wham Clothing because the Aboriginal flag was copyrighted and you needed to ask for permission and pay for it. I was like, oh, we're pretty shocked to hear about that. Maybe we'll do something about this.
Yeah, and that feels like I get it, but I'm shocked to hear about that as well. I just would have thought that that's owned by community. Like, and that,
Yeah.
you know, as an Indigenous woman yourself, if you would like to use that, that's yours, babe. Like you can put that wherever you want. Turns out that's not the case though.
100%.
Yeah. And because it's official flag of Australia, I think a lot of people
I can
assume
understand
that.
kind of a bit that way, but
So it was this really weird thing where the Aboriginal flag had been proclaimed as an official flag of the country, so therefore covered by the Flags Act, which
you guys really went hard when you were like, let's get into some trademarking issues. You weren't like, oh, another small business was interested. You were like, yes, it was the government.
yep, it was there. And then it was also, so it was publicly owned, essentially,
Yeah.
like a public flag, and then also privately owned. So it had a copyright on it, and then from the copyright was licensed. So then it was actually the licensee holder, WAM Clothing, that then came
still
for
a
us.
thing?
No,
Please tell me it's not.
we freed it.
Yeah, we worked on that. That's okay.
I was like,
fixed
please
that.
tell me that's not a thing.
That was 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I look back and up until that point, I thought this will be, our legacy,
100%.
and the community's legacy, I think, and
Yeah.
Clothing the Gap's legacy really around how we used fashion to create social change. It was actually that work that made us decide, we can change legislations, we can change laws if, through the clothing brand. And it made
Incredible.
us sort of take a step back from the forward-facing health promotion delivery and use fashion to build communities. But this time, and this was the thing we'd never done, was invite non-Indigenous people into the space. And they were just hanging out, waiting to be like, we want to help, tell us what to do.
Yeah, that's
Like, we're here and we're ready to go.
Yeah, that's me. I'm like in the wings. Like, I want your voices to speak louder than mine, but like, how do I help you open those doors? Because I know there are so many doors that I could help open, but I'm not the one that should then walk through them. And so like, you just kind of wait and go, what do you need? How can I help? What can I do? And you guys like, just wait. I want to ask about Clothing the Gap, like witty, funny, hilarious, like what a good name for a clothing brand, but it means so much more. Can we talk a little bit about these gaps that you are trying so hard to close and being successful at, by the way? But like when you started, you were like, cool, Clothing the Gap. And I'm sure there were like a lot of things that you were planning. How's that changed?
Yeah, I think like when I think the government initiative Closing the Gap, lots of people knew about it. I think one of the things we struggled with early on was people realising if they were to purchase from us, what the impact of that purchase meant. And when we, used the name Clothing the Gap, people associated
Which
with
was perfect.
impact. Yeah. And for us, one of those gaps we initially wanted to close was the health gap. But I think as we've progressed in the business, we've realised, some of those gaps that we've actually been able to close are around building allyship, advocating, educating, and looking, I guess, what are those social justice issues that we want to bring attention to for First Nations people.
Yeah.
That's what we've been able to do to the visibility of the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there was this really interesting turning point for us when we first started producing clothes. It was if we can sell enough clothing, because at the start, like no seed funding, no rich investors came and hung out with us and were like, we have $100,000, take it, do what you want. None of that.
No,
it was literally Laws and I's savings and just in reinvesting every single dollar that we earned back into the business. So at the start, it was very much like, if we can sell enough merch, like maybe one day we won't have to subcontract back into the people who we were essentially like being booked for jobs.
Yeah.
We can just run the programs and just do the work that community is asking of us to do rather than having to essentially tender for work and then do the thing.
But you have to do what you've got to do to
100%.
get by.
And anybody who's listening that's thinking about, what their own thing looks like you do what you have to do to make it work, right? And then it really flipped in being able to see the power of the brand of, as Laws was talking about, as public health and as health promotion in and of itself.
Yeah.
But I like to use the analogy of a really, really like easy public health example is an A-frame out the front of a cafe in amongst the tables that says this is a smoke-free zone.
Perfect.
It changes the way that environment feels. It changes the way that people behave there. It changes what people do there.
Yeah.
If I sit in a cafe and I wear my always was, always will be t-shirt, it changes this way that space feels.
It does,
it
doesn't
changes the expectation of what conversations that at least one person
are acceptable in
is
this
not
space.
going to tolerate.
Absolutely.
For me as a non-Aboriginal person, if Laws was sitting at a table opposite, how would that make you feel, Laws?
I'll be like, oh, this person cares about First Nations justice.
Pretty cool chick.
I feel like maybe we could connect, maybe we could be friends.
Yeah.
But
even then it's just so nice to see just allyship. You don't even have to talk to each other to
it's just,
have that
it's
recognised.
changed. Like maybe this cafe's for me.
Yeah. And it is, but
and it should be. It's just that visible representation in that. So essentially public health is anything that makes an environment safer, healthier for people. And we know that a reduction in or an elimination of racism in spaces directly contributes to health and wellbeing for people. So I would still say that we are still very much doing public health. It just looks probably a little bit different.
Very different. A lot more fashion, guys.
More fashion.
But I mean, if the health, we always say this, but health promotion was the best business background we could have to be successful in what we're doing, because we never ever focused on e-commerce or sales. It was always about the message, and it was always about building community, and it was always about changing behaviours. But Victoria, one thing we forgot to mention was in 2020, it was also the murder of George Floyd.
It was.
Yeah, and that was also a pivotal moment where people started to buy from us, because there was also those Black Lives Matter rallies.
Yeah, 100%.
And at that time, we're one of the first people in the market. We had a few T-shirts.
Oh, you would have been able to be really responsive to that situation.
Yeah, we were. And we had a Free the Flag T-shirt, and always was, always will be T-shirt in the shape of the Aboriginal flag, trying to, get around that copyright issue.
You're being a little bit sneaky.
Yeah.
Now don't have to be.
We spent a lot of time thinking about how we can share the Aboriginal
behind
flag.
the scenes stuff, but I super love it, because it's not like, oh, we're trying to rip off another brand. It's like, no, we're trying to claim this back and we haven't got it yet, but we know we're going to get it, but we haven't got it yet. And I love it.
And that's why we took the colour. We called it the empty flag, and it was like the shape of the Aboriginal flag without the colour.
Yeah, that's not it. It's not the same.
It's not the same. We're like, how much do we have to change it for it to not be a breach of the licensing agreement anymore?
And we talk quite openly about this. We were like inundated with sales. We had people lining up down the street to get a T-shirt. We just could not make enough, right? And on Shopify, there's this button, and it's continue to sell when out of stock.
Oh, yeah.
We pressed it.
Get it.
It was pre-sale, but people didn't know it.
Yeah. That's fine. You know what? I feel like in small business, and like I obviously am a small business myself, you kind of like, just do it, see what happens.
Like, and now we would tell people, be like, it's on pre-order, it's arriving on this day.
Like, I always say, bite off more than you can chew, and then we'll just figure out how to swallow it later. And that's terrible business advice, right? But every single small business owner that is driven by passion, that is driven by, trying to have an impact. I've never met someone who doesn't agree with that. Like, people who are maybe too conservative, great, no worries. Like, you're starting an accounting firm or something. But when you have impact, you're like, I'll work out how to chew that later. But I took the bite, Now we have to do what we said we were going to do. And I think there's something so beautiful about that. But also, are you okay? Because that would have been chaos.
No, look, it was a ceiling that we didn't know what the limit was, and it allowed us to just completely open that up. I was, and like says now, we wouldn't do that now. But at that point in time,
that was a lot.
I was like very much in the space of, where was everyone pre-Black Lives Matter movement? And if you didn't have a T-shirt before this moment, you can wait 2 weeks. I was completely there. And we wrote a lot about allyship beyond the trend and what that looks like. And to be honest, we built a community of people at that moment that we were able to continue to talk to. And if we didn't sell them a T-shirt and make them wait a week.
Disconnected.
Exactly. So it was one of the best decisions
we can wait
made.
a week. Ozpost, we can blame them.
Yeah, and
that's
also,
where we went.
If you show up to the Black Lives Matter rally on that Saturday that's coming, and you're not wearing an always was, always will be T-shirt, it's still okay. Like, you're still there.
But lots
and
of
you
people
should wear
have
that
a bit
T-shirt.
of a conniption over that, I'm assuming.
I know, and that's where we got to, was like literally it was in our first tiny little office. Our first office, Victoria, was up these rickety set of stairs above Rent-A-Bomb in Preston on High Street. Oh, yeah, no. Actually, technically, this was our second office. Our first office was in the spare change rooms at the football club at the Fitzroy Stars.
Do you know what? Sorry.
Humble beginnings.
Slay, that is not your kitchen table. That is an office outside of home.
Yeah. It was shared with all of the lost and found football boots, but that's okay.
Do you know what? Sometimes context doesn't matter.
Exactly. I will not forget that smell though. And
don't.
I literally stood out the front of, I remember like COVID rules, right? So there was only like 3 shoppers allowed upstairs at a time. So every single person, so we had this line down High Street in Preston that went like a block and a half.
It would have to, because we had to be socially distant.
Because we had to be, and everyone had to like stand their distances apart. And so everybody had like a set time that they were allowed upstairs.
It's so comical looking back on it.
It's
but
ridiculous.
like at the same time, you're like, they still showed up.
Yeah,
like,
they
how
did.
good.
Yeah. And like every single person got drilled about, well, open up your phone while you're here. You're going to follow this, and this person. You need to sign this petition. You need to sign that one.
Yes, get
like
it.
they got like an actual like drilling
Laundry list. Here's
before
what we expect of you. You can't come in our little house until then.
And that's exactly it. So and as I said, like we got to build this community of people where we made it very, very, very clear that if you are here, there is action that's asked of you in this process. It's not just about the T-shirt.
Oh, no. And I think that I would be very disappointed if it was just about the T-shirt. Like, and I get that. And I think that's why your business has such grit, and the fact that you guys don't rely on grants. You rely on sales of your clothing to perpetuate this. And I think that that's incredible, but also would be really stressful at the same time. Can you talk me through some of the financial realities of that choice of model of business, especially for a social enterprise? And what has it taught you?
Oh, it's taught us a lot actually. And it's been a really interesting process. And in the current economic environment for retail, it's been a really big reminder of we have to be a viable and sustainable business first. We want to be here to continue to create impact for a really long time.
Yeah.
And we have genuinely had to completely rework the whole way that we run our business over the last 12 months. Otherwise, if we hadn't have, we've been reflecting on this a lot lately of we would be bankrupt. Like we would not be here. Closing the Gaps would no longer exist. Because when you are a social enterprise, our commitment is to always give a majority of our profits, resources and efforts to our cause.
Yep.
We're also a certified Aboriginal business. We're a B Corp. We have a locally made collection that's Ethical Clothing Australia accredited and locally made with the
cool, guys.
green and gold
It is
kangaroo.
just so cool. You're like, oh, and we're B Corp and it's local. Like, stop it.
But the really interesting part about it is that the challenges that small businesses in general face new businesses and social enterprises and purpose-led businesses feel them a lot harder and quicker, I think. So we actually pivoted really early in terms of the economic slowness that's happened over the last little while. Like we had made changes probably 8 months prior to that because we could feel it coming faster. One of the biggest lessons that I think that we've learned is ensuring that the business model works before you get really deeply invested in overcommitting on the impact bit. And that's taken us a really long time to get there, of getting really clear about, you know, what we do, how we do it, the partners, the community partners that we work with along the way to have the longevity and the impact as well.
Yeah, I was going to, like, hearing you say that, you're both so incredibly passionate and I can hear that. So I can see how you might go, but we want to do everything.
Yeah.
And that would then be really limiting because you go, well, we actually only have this budget. How do you then prioritize our impact when you're like, there's so much change that needs to happen? Like, how are you managing that? Because I can just see how that might just be overwhelming, and then you're still having an impact, but you're like, but we should be doing more. Like I can just see that you're that type of people.
Especially when you've built a platform and you want to be able to share it, to elevate other issues, and then we just become sort of overwhelmed and not as focused. And then if you're not as focused,
you're off your A game.
Yeah, and then we can't actually make the difference that we want to make around certain things. Like we just can't do everything that we want. We're a limited resource, but we're in this beautiful position as a social enterprise of being able to not being reliant on the government.
Oh, that's slay.
Yeah, and have a unique position to be able to use our power and our voices without any fear that we're going to lose
funding. Will be
funding.
rescinded or something,
And that's what keeps us in this space. When I sort of think about, like, I come from a family who are activists and none of them had been in business. And sometimes I think, well, why, I'm not in business to make money. I'm in business because I actually feel more self-determined than I ever have, because we don't actually have to work with, the colonial structures. We just have to work with community. They're the ones that support us and fund us to create the impact that we want to work. We also get to choose who we work with.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in that.
Absolutely.
That is the power of beauty, and we get to build our own economic independence.
Yeah,
we get to mentor other people in business. We just do that quite naturally. And when Cez talks about 2024 being like a tough year in retail across the board for everyone with the cost of living crisis, it was hard for me to recognize that because we're so in the work.
Yeah.
And it's like I knew we weren't selling as much, but it was our focus isn't always on financials, and on the sales. And often when we're doing the good work, we make the sales. If we focus on the impact, if we tell the stories, if we continue to advocate, community keeps supporting us. At the same time, I guess it's important to keep oversight of the whole picture. And, you know, we're certainly getting better at that 5 years into business.
And you have to get better at that. And like, it's not what you want to hear as motivated individuals who want to have an impact. But then, I don't know if you know this, but ex-financial advisor, I just have a lot of thoughts about finances. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from. You're not financially motivated, but the more financially secure we are, the more impact we can have. And that's where I go, how can I get my hands into this and like help you find that drive to make more money while not feeling like you're being greedy for wanting to make more money, because that's actually directly related to the impact every single dollar that you bring in has. So the more money we can bring in, great, the more saturation we can have in the market, and the bigger percentage of each of those dollars actually goes to community, actually goes to your causes, and actually goes to closing that gap. Because, you know, right now you would have genuine business expenses. We have rent, we have overheads, we have to buy stock. And if we're only making small margins and not selling heaps, well, that small margin then goes to, you know, the cause. But the bigger the margin, the more impact we have. And like that is a really hard thing to help small business owners who are driven by impact conceptualize, because they're like, oh, but I'm not money hungry, Victoria. And I'm like, I know, but if we look at every single dollar that comes into your business and making that work as hard as possible for your cause, do you want that? And you go, well, yes. Go, great. We have to care about the finances.
Absolutely. And it's flipping it to for some people be thinking about it as a race, like it's just a resource.
Yeah.
It is, and the more resources that you have, it empowers a resource of being able to do more and do it differently and do it in the way that, you know, that we know is impactful in that as well.
Yeah. It's rough.
But the question that we're mostly asking ourselves is, are we doing enough for community? You know, are we doing enough? And that is, I feel like, and for lots of, I'd say, Aboriginal businesses, it feels like the expectation, are they giving back, is something that that threshold feels higher for mob, because certainly I don't know how many other retailers or other business out there where people go up and say, what are you doing with your profits? Like we get that. And I know Aboriginal businesses get that all the time.
It's actually insane because like I don't get asked that.
Yeah.
Like nobody goes, Victoria, what do you do with your profits? And like I will happily tell you, but like I see that being asked of you in your social like comments online and just people having these unrealistic expectations. At the end of the day, yes, but that's not your business at the end of the day because you're a private company. You are not government funded. You're not owed that information. But then also, why are you questioning me as though I would not be doing the right thing? Have you seen the mission behind this business?
And I think that's
like,
that's for
sit
us.
Sit down, Sharon.
That's for us why those accreditation that we listed off before are so important, because it gives transparency that we're externally audited. And there's a responsibility and there's a privilege that comes with being a social enterprise. And that's why, and I just really want to acknowledge the privilege that we've got to be actually able to have set our business up in the way that we have. But these questions of give back and responsibility, it's not just for social enterprises, that Aboriginal businesses feel more broadly is, I just want to raise it as something that I don't think non-Indigenous businesses experience as the same. And having said that, when you invest and buy and support Aboriginal businesses, we quite naturally give back to our own mob. Like the stats from Supply Nation is that we're 100 times, Aboriginal businesses are 100 times more likely to employ Aboriginal people. We do that naturally.
Yeah.
Yet we're still questioned about, are we giving enough back
to our
mob?
Me.
You know, as you walk into our shop on Sydney Road in Brunswick on Wurundjeri Country, you can see all of our accreditations. We should be looking for those same accreditations. Everywhere that we go. So I think every single thing that we buy is an opportunity to change the way that the world looks and functions and feels like. And the more of the dollars that we're already spending, sometimes it's not about spending more, it's just about changing the location, the direction of the money flow that you've already got, that can just make such a big difference. Like I get so excited about being able to, when it comes time for me, it's time for a new pair of jeans. I'm like, right, where am I buying this from? Because this actually matters. Like, my little list is like, I start with an Aboriginal business, and then is it Australian made? Is it a B Corp? Is it a social enterprise?
Yeah.
Just like, how great to look into your wardrobe in your house and be like, I have these incredible stories attached to all of these things, that my money is just like,
it's
when
working.
we think about where it's invested.
Yeah.
My money invested in my wardrobe is also working just as hard out in the real world.
We're just girls. Like we still want a nice pair of jeans. But then also the thing I love about this is it really plays into my ethos. I'm always like, put 24 hours between you and your spending, because I don't want you to make impulse purchases. But if you do this, you're like not only not making impulse purchases, you're making impact purchases. And we can like go, oh, you really liked that thing in that shop? Great, take a photo of it, go home and see if there's an Indigenous option. Like see how you could drive more impact. And I'm just like, that's pretty sexy, isn't it?
Oh, we talk about what we call it, like having a black wardrobe. And lots of people say, I have, a Clothing the Gap's tee. And I'm like, yeah, cool. But what really impresses me,
where else are you shopping?
Yeah, what other black brands are you wearing?
Yeah.
Like, there's enough space in Indigenous fashion for everyone, because the conversations we want to have with Australians is to have a whole black wardrobe.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not just Clothing the Gaps, right?
No, there are so many. It'd be disappointing if that's all you had.
Yeah, it's like, yep, cool. What else have you got?
Yeah, and we're all wearing, we wear a lot of Clothing the Gaps because we're promoting our brands, but underneath this, I'm wearing Gammon threads, and Cesar's often wearing Leandra, and
there are just so many beautiful brands out there.
My hubby's favourite T-shirts are from House of Darwin. I'm
yes.
You're pushing your luck there, babe.
I love it. All right, let's take a really quick break. And when I come back, I want to talk to you guys about the financial realities of balancing profit and purpose, and how we can then spend further in line with our values, which is where we're already going. That's why I was like, let's cut here, so go to a break. So guys, don't go anywhere. All right, we are back, and this very special episode with Laura and Sarah from Clothing the Gap. I don't know, it's been so insightful. I feel like the energy between you two is just so beautiful. I'm like, can you stay? Do you want to do more podcasts today? But you've not just built a business, you've built a whole movement. Like just the idea that people are like, I wear that, I do this. Like, we're talking about how do we find Indigenous jeans brands so that we can actually drive our impact. When your work has both a social mission, but then also a bottom line, which can be really hard, there's obviously bound to be a lot of tension. How do you balance profit and purpose and impact from week to week? Because some of us zoom out and we look at the bigger picture and you go, oh, we need to make some tweaks. But from week to week, I'm assuming this is an ongoing conversation. And then how do you make decisions when, your personal priorities are pulling you in one way, but your finances are looking a little bit different?
Oh, it's a really good question.
I'd say we're always purpose-driven, and it probably takes us a little bit to catch up that sometimes maybe, when we've had tough months that perhaps we're struggling with profit because we've been focused on the purpose. And the success of Clothing the Gaps is the fact that it is impact-driven, and the decisions we've made has not been to shift away from our values or our purpose. It's just to go leaner, which is hard because that means it's less hours of Indigenous employment, but it hasn't changed the goal or the mission, because if we started to focus on driving profit, we wouldn't be motivated.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be motivated to do the work, and we'd lose the whole purpose of Clothing the Gap.
You'd feel
I was going to say, your passion is not money
right?
and sales. Your passion is clearly impact. And we were talking back in October about how, when you're doing your mail outs, you had been putting your Not a Date to Celebrate campaigns into those mail outs. And I was like, in October, guys, that's what you're doing. So can we talk about that? Because that's not about being financially led, but more about campaign led and impact led. And I feel like that's really proactive. And I feel like for a very long time, these topics weren't being discussed until January 26th. We'll talk about it on that day and not again. But you're showing your community months before, hey, here's a fridge magnet. You said a handwritten letter?
Yeah.
Queens, what? You are going above and beyond. Tell me
so excited
about this campaign.
I'm so excited about Black Friday because of this campaign opportunity.
Yeah.
And Black Friday is in Australia is a thing for retail.
So is that why you were like, I'm going to start talking about January 26th on Black Friday?
Because we're going to send out a lot of packages because we have to go on sale to survive.
Yep. Do you know what? We do what we got to do.
And we're not motivated by having sales.
Yep.
But I am motivated by the number of people that will buy from us when we're 25% off site-wide. And the fact that I get to slip in a campaign letter and a magnet and really talk to people individually when they have to physically open something up. Like that was just a super game changer for me of why I'm excited about how many sales we make, because that's how many letters we get to put in packages.
That's impact.
It is. And I would just say that like we're really, really creative about fixing that problem and that tension that we talked about before. So this is a prime example, right, of we get charged at our 3PL for every single individual insert that we put in. So when Laws and I were chatting about when we were thinking about Black Friday planning and how do we educate in this moment and how do we make the most of these parcels that are going out, and Laws was like, let's do a magnet so that it goes on the fridge, and we're going to do a letter, and we're going to do a this, and we're going to do a that. And
you're
I'm like,
thinking,
yes.
Line item.
Like, that invoice.
Who's folding the envelope?
Yeah, I was like, cool. So
don't worry about that. We're just talking about impact, Loz.
No, so what we're doing is we fixed that problem. We put them all in the one envelope.
Okay, yeah.
So that now it feels really cute as well. So it feels like, Victoria, when you buy from us on Black Friday, when you got that parcel sent to your house and it's got this letter and you open it, it's this moment, right? So we're capturing people in this moment, but also it's way more economically viable.
Oh, totally.
So we just get really creative about how we do the impact, and then we essentially just like justify it to ourselves and find a creative way.
I've left this really late to organise this. It's going to cost us a lot,
but it'll be worth it, I promise.
But it's a campaign moment. You know, this will be a campaign moment, and we're creatives and we're entertainers. I
love that that's your background.
Yeah.
No wonder your stuff is just so engaging all the time.
Well, and
we're ridiculous.
And God, one of my fears is being boring. Like if we're going to
No.
But Victoria,
no, you're really fun.
If we've got people's time and people are willing to listen to us, then we really want to appreciate the moment they're spending with us by being as engaging with them as we can. This letter that went out, on the front of it, it said, a letter about a day that divides us on the front. And then
I already want to open it because I'm pervy.
What's this
exactly? What is it?
Yeah. What is this day that divides us? And then that sort of...
And because it was October, you're not really thinking about January 26, are you?
But these campaigns, these conversations around changing the date and about Jan 26 not being a day that we celebrate have been going on for years.
Yep.
And if we really want to make a change and spark those conversations, we need to be active all year round. And I think, for the community of people that shop with us, I think we've got them to the point where they're not just wearing clothing the gaps on significant Aboriginal days, they're wearing them all year round. And that's the support we need to create this social change. And, we need leaders and people signing that petition around Jan 26 all year round if we want to create this momentum and shift.
And so tell me more about Not a Date to Celebrate's campaign, because today, perfect day to start talking more about it. I know there's a lot of confusion about, okay, respect that, but what does that really mean? Tell us how we can embrace this. Tell us how we can support you, how we can support our Indigenous culture. What does that look like?
Yeah, so Jan 26 is not a date to celebrate, as we've talked about throughout the start of the pod as well, Victoria. And, it's for me as a non-Aboriginal person, I want to be able to celebrate the incredible things about this country, but we cannot do that on January 26 because it very clearly marks the start of invasion in this country and the incredible, overwhelming amount of pain and suffering that has come from that right through till today. You only have to look at the work of the Uruk Commission over the past years of gathering and listening to community stories about the impacts that colonisation has had in this country. To go January 26 is not it. And that's essentially where we're very much at, is that January 26 is not a date to celebrate. It's pretty simple.
It's a date of mourning.
It is. And, It's been a date of mourning for generations in the Aboriginal community. One of the biggest things that non-Aboriginal people often come back to us when we talk about this and be like, oh, well, we've been celebrating Australia on Jan 26 forever. I'm like, no, we
actually haven't.
1994,
you actually
guys.
haven't.
1994, that's it.
Yeah.
That is it. This is not something that when you ask most people about what it is that they're so attached to the estate is, there really isn't an enormous amount of attachment to it. It's just this concept that to be able to reflect on Jan 26 for me as a non-Aboriginal person with respect and with some empathy, and to be able to update our thinking with new information. Sure, you may not have known much about what Jan 26 really meant for First Nations communities before.
And I feel like that was me. That was me. And like
it was me too, Victoria. And I think we didn't get
high
taught.
school, we were doing these big Australia Day parties, and I look back on it and I'm horrified.
Absolutely.
But if you know better, you can do better, and you guys are educating us so that we can know better. Now we get to do better. What a privilege.
Absolutely. And what an opportunity. And I guess the question really is if you know now and we're not doing something about it, that's when
it's disrespectful. That's when you go,
Absolutely.
what are you even doing? What kind of human being are you?
So lots of people are doing lots of different things around Jan 26. We're seeing different brands and businesses and, like yourself, Victoria, sharing their support through their platforms for the Not a Date to Celebrate campaign and conversations around the truth and the reality of Jan 26. We're seeing people choose to switch their public holiday to another day and go to work and think about, just not celebrating on Jan 26 at all. So we're seeing a lot of public action around Jan 26, but what we have really seen a lack of is government leadership and action around thinking about what an alternative to Jan 26 is and acknowledging that this is something that really has to shift. We can't continue like this. This just feels like we are at an absolute standstill feels like a majority of people don't celebrate on Jan 26. Triple J Hottest 100 shifted away from Jan 26, 5 years ago now? Yeah. This feels like it should be old news by now.
It actually shouldn't be a thing.
No, it's ridiculous.
It does confuse me. I'm like, why I get it. I was educated on it. Why are we still talking about it? Are we not all on the same page? And I think that that's one thing that I personally really struggle with is someone has come up, and I don't care what it is. Let's pretend it's an office. Someone goes, I find it really disrespectful when you X, Y, Z. Thanks for telling me. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was upsetting you. I'm just not going to do it anymore. Like, is that not how we're all like? This should be quite simple. Like, we've put our hand up, and yes, it's been for literal years. You put your hands up and said, hey, do you reckon, like, we're not saying don't, but do you reckon we could just do it a different day? The one that, like, even us, like, we could get involved in that day then? Because, like, you're right, it sounds like a bit of fun, but, like, not then. Like, that just doesn't work. And people are so hamstrung on being like, no, it's our right. Get in the bin. Like, get in the, this is horrific. What has happened? And I feel like just too many people are trying to slide under the rug exactly what happened. We should be using this as an opportunity to talk more about that, to build bridges, to become more resilient, to be more respectful. Why aren't we doing that?
Oh, you've explained it so well, Victoria. We shouldn't still be talking about this. This is an issue that the government can change quite easily. We don't need a referendum.
It's not that deep.
It's not that deep.
Like, in the most respectful way. It is not that deep. Change the date. Bye.
So why are we closing the gap, spending so much time and so much resource? And one of the criticisms that we get from mob is there are more important issues that you should be talking about than this. And I absolutely 100% agree that we are wasting our time talking about this. But the reality is,
you could actually just tick this off and then we can talk about the important
we
stuff.
can fix the other things too.
When we talk about raise the age, right? When we talk about our focus, we want to tick this off. This is essentially a painful moment that we choose to celebrate the day, the worst possible day you could choose in the calendar. And the government can change that quite simply. And we just want to tick this off because we are sick of talking about it. We're sick of experiencing Jan 26 and the pain and trauma that it brings when we feel like, you've had that realisation. Still lots of Australians are choosing to celebrate on that day. It is a day that divides the nations. There's a day where there's a whole lot of racism and in the lead up to it. It's just a horrible way to end January. And
100%.
And there's so many people that have supported the campaign. We've had over, 70,000 people sign that petition that we only started last year, actually.
Obsessed.
And we're keen to table this petition. We're keen to see more workplaces get involved and to use any strategy that we can think of just to be able to find ways to celebrate the good things about this country just on another day.
Absolutely. And if you guys are listening to this and really resonating with the conversation that we have, I will make sure that petition is in our show notes so that you can also sign it and share it. And that would be a perfect way to help today. Like if you're like, I don't know what I should be posting, post the petition. Yeah. Share it. It's a free way of advocating for a community who are currently not being heard in the way that they deserve to be.
Absolutely. And there are so many different things that people can do that doesn't actually cost a thing.
What else can we do? Come on, tips,
So
tricks. I'm She's on the Money. I love free stuff.
We all love free stuff, right? And agency actually doesn't cost anything often. It's actually about using your voice. We talk often about everybody has a circle of influence that they can engage with and have those conversations with. So talk to your friends and family about what Jan 26 really does mean from a First Nations perspective and engage with the Yurok resources today. Like go and listen to some of those stories from community. You can sign the petition, absolutely, and share it. Sign and send an MP letter. We have to remember that our MPs sit in their seats to represent their constituents, which is us. And if we do not tell them what we think and what we want them to do, sometimes they assume and often they get that wrong.
Yeah.
So make it very clear how you feel about Jan 26 today and that it is not a date to celebrate. I really believe that there is an enormous amount of support out there for this and that we will continue to get traction on this conversation and that there has to be an outcome and a resolution at the end of this tunnel. We can't keep having Groundhog Day about Jan 26 and we need everybody to have those conversations in their spaces to get that done.
Yeah.
And I find it remarkable. We've been making Not a Date to Celebrate teas for about 5 years now. I didn't think that we would need to get to the point where we'd have to table a petition in Parliament. I did think perhaps, and maybe it was naive of me, that this would be resolved by now. And the very fact that we're a business who's leading this campaign, it's just a reminder of the power of businesses to do good. And actually, perhaps we're in the best position to be able to make the social change.
1,000%. I know that we are very quickly running out of time, so I don't want to take more. But one thing that I also find our community, I won't say struggles with, but has put their hand up and said, I find this really challenging. And you said before, send a letter to your MP. Like we all sit down and go, ooh, what do we say? I don't agree with this. So we will also drop a template of a letter that you could send to your MP and you can change it however you want, put your name in, put your local MP's name in, but just what that might look like, because so many of us want to have that impact, but just don't maybe have the words to articulate that as clearly and as impactfully as possible. So we'll put that in the show notes as well and it'll be free to download on our website so you can use it however you want. Is there any other ways before I let you go? Sorry, I feel like I'm taking all of this time, but I'm like, this is such a good episode. Are there any other ways that today we can show our allyship that doesn't cost anything?
I guess it's sharing content. It doesn't cost anything to reshare content from Black creators on your story.
And then I would just think about, Jan 26 is a really good reminder to re-engage in conversations that perhaps you may have slipped out of for a bit. But I really do think that it's so important for people to think about what we do outside of days like Jan 26 or Reconciliation Week or NAIDOC Week, of making sure that it is allyship beyond the trend or beyond the calendar date that comes up. It's how do you engage in those conversations all year round? Yeah. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, but as a business, we can't survive on people buying from us on 3 days a year.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Like thinking about how you support First Nations people, communities, brands,
and
causes.
in business as well, at work. At She's on the Money, I don't think we talk about this enough, but we have created a panel of Indigenous people that we refer to when creating Indigenous content to make sure, one, it's hitting right. Two, I am not the voice. That's not for me. I'm the door. That's I can open the door, and how that plays out is going to be very different based on who we're having on the show. But we talk a lot with them about allyship year round. I don't want to just celebrate NAIDOC week and be like, oh, cool, like we're promoting creators because that's what every other company is doing. How do we have a deep impact that opens many doors for many people throughout the year? Because you're right, like 3 days a year. Sorry, that's not impact. That's actually the bare minimum. We expect you to recognize those days at a minimum. So I think there's just so much that needs to be done in this space. But yeah, I think allyship all year. Like ask your employer, do we have to have January 26th off next year? Could we like swap that? Because I'd much prefer to be at work and not celebrate that. And I think it's just small steps in the right directions where you can impact other people as well. Oh my gosh, guys, this has been absolutely beautiful. Of course, as I mentioned before, I'll make sure that the petitions and all our recommendations are in the show notes and all over our social media today. I would really, really love if you could sign the Not a Date to Celebrate petition and then find out more and just be more educated about this. And if this conversation has made you think differently, my friends, share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to She's on the Money wherever you get your podcasts. We've got more big conversations coming your way. Thanks, guys, for sharing the time with me. The advice shared on She's on the Money is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. She's on the Money exists purely for educational purposes and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the PDS, TMD and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored towards your needs. Victoria Devine and She's on the Money are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd ABN 321 649 27708 AFSL 451289.